First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
Swimsuit? Check. Sunscreen? Check. Phone charger? Check. Don't forget to pack the 5-Hour Energy. It fits great in a pocket or carry-on, and the alert feeling will help you arrive ready for anything. Now get 20% off when you use code 5HETRAVEL at 5hourenergy.com. Expires April 30th. One-time use only. Not valid with other discounts. Remember, visit 5hourenergy.com and use code 5HETRAVEL to save 20%.
We're joined now by former Utica councilwoman, and she's running again for the position, Samantha Colosimo. Testa. Good morning, Sam.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you today?
Good. I can't believe. I know you're a school teacher as well. What is going on with kids in the city?
Yeah, it's scary, and I think that this isn't the first that we've heard about it within the past year.
It seems.
I think that it's got to bring a concern to anybody that even as a mother, a parent, a teacher, whatever which way you want to look at it, that a 14-year-old was just shot in front of in his head. I mean, in the middle of broad daylight. And I think that it really raises concerns that this much violence is going on in the city. Three shootings and 2 homicides in one weekend is quite frightening.
And certainly for a city the size of Utica. Go ahead.
And it's just the idea that, and again, I'm all about the Second Amendment and responsible gun ownership, but the fact that this, what we're learning from Sergeant Curley this morning is that this was an incident where the gun was readily available in the home to these young children, and it may have been that this could have been an accidental incident.
He seemed to indicate that it wasn't.
Yeah, I own a gun, and I have, I fully go through my Second Amendment for the right to bear arms. But you also have to be a responsible gun owner too, and whatever case that may be in this incident, I think when you look at what's been going on in the past year with gun violence, I mean, this one particular case might be different, but there hasn't been in the past. I think that you need to look at it in its totality with what's going on with, the violent crimes inside the city.
Do you think that this is a result of some sort of glamorization of that, violence?
I think what really needs to be talked about. I know when I went to school, we had DARE officers, okay, and there was Officer Lockwell. He would come in, he would talk about drugs, guns, violence, this, et cetera. And I think that there's really not that much discussion going on inside with our youth nowadays that goes back to what's right, what's wrong. Teaching. I had a friend of mine that, was willing to offer a trades program to teach these kids, get them out of the streets, get them out of, what's going on. So I definitely think that there has to be more communication with our youth to let them know that there's other things that they can do, besides run rampant on the streets and commit such violent crimes. So I think that, we have to do our part. Obviously, this isn't just a citywide problem, because I think, the Biden administration just announced back in the end of, actually about a week ago, their gun violence initiatives, and part of that was using the money from the American Rescue Plan in order to try and tackle some of the, violent crimes that have been happening inside the city. So, again, city our size having 3 shootings in one weekend, I think that, there's got to be better communication from, at least the city administration and letting us know what is going on. I mean, I have people messaging me, saying, Sam, what's going on? Like, we haven't heard one thing. Like, this is why we're moving out of the city. And to me, that's unfortunate to hear when we could, be out in front of this and letting people know what we're doing and how we're doing it and, what we're trying to do to curb what's going on inside the city.
I know that Councilman Delvin Moody, had discussed back when we spoke with him in the infancy or even in the works with the police reform task force. And he had said that, I believe I remember him acknowledging the need for the community to do a little bit of their own kind of look in the mirror to think what's going on. What would this task force that you're proposing entail?
So where I actually got this task force from, it was kind of back in 2016. I looked at the city of Albany, and what they had done was they put together a gun violence task force. And a lot of the issues that they had going on inside the city, they addressed with members of the community. Now, this is not a reinvention of the wheel by any means. I'm not, sitting there saying that, this is going to be the end all to the solutions. But what I think needs to happen is I think that members of the community need to come together and put together what ideas they have for certain groups, okay? And then really give an idea of what suggestions that we could have, to whether it's a summer, youth program or, that's a paid internship or some of the things that we could do to try and get, and it's not just the youth by any means. I'm not just saying that. I'm just, looking at specific ways that we could target because to me, a 15-year-old that's being charged in juvenile court now through family court over murdering somebody, by shooting them in the head is something that it's just, I can't wrap my head around it. So, and that's why I look at the focus of trying to get this task force together to literally, find members, not just from the Cornhill community. I mean, this isn't just a one specific area that's having these issues now. These issues are happening throughout the city, and I think that it really comes down to the fact that, we've got to work with one another and to come together with ideas on how we can at least tackle some parts of this issue that's going on inside the city. Because it really just doesn't affect certain communities. When you have a 14-year-old kid getting shot in the head or, and and I keep harping on that because it's really hard to believe.
And it's hard
it's
to
also
believe.
Shocking.
Yeah, I mean, you literally, how does it, even the image from the city, I mean, people are scared to go to the 4th of July fireworks because of, the issues that are going on. I mean, that's not fair because it does for the entire city as a community because people are now scared to go, do something inside their city. So there's really no it hasn't been any reassurance other than the police department going on and discussing what's going on, what the city's doing to help with these issues.
And when you're looking at, and not to cut you off, Jeff, but just at that point, the blame solely can't be on, and I'm not saying you are, Sam, I'm not saying that, but the blame cannot solely be on the police department at this point, because when they're in a situation, as Sergeant Curley said this morning, when they're going to try to respond to a gunshot victim or try to take somebody into the custody or figure out what's going on or not contaminate a crime scene, and people are jumping on their backs and assaulting them, what more can they do?
Yes, no, it's crazy, and listen, there's definitely a need, and I think that's part of the what that American Rescue Plan money could be utilized for is increase in police force, increase in looking at ways that the police department can be helped with recruiting efforts and so on and so forth. So I think that this isn't a police community issue by any means. What's going on now?
So, Sam, you're calling for a youth violence task force. I have a couple questions. The first one being, this task force would be police, or would this be community members? It would be a number of people. I mean, you could look at from the police department to members of the Common Council to members of the community to the refugee center to a number of people that could be involved in this stuff. Really come together and try and tackle the issues that are going on. So it isn't just limited to, one specific group of people. It's really an entire citywide effort helping to tackle these issues. And then, Sam, I think you were on the council at the time, although I can't remember exactly when it happened, but I feel like we go through this in the city of Utica to varying levels every couple of years. Whether it's the emergence of gangs in the city or now it's gun violence, there seems to be something that flares up every couple of years that involves teens, middle teens, late teens, and some element of violence. And I know these task forces have been created in the past. I think the DA's office was involved before. I know